Hey, what's up guys? So in this video we're going to be going over how to update your Uniden R7 radar detector. Uniden periodically releases firmware updates to add new features, fix bugs, things like that. And you can go on over to their website, download the updates, and using your computer you can update your detector. And in this video I'm going to show you what the process is like. Now in order to do it you're going to need a computer, obviously Windows or Mac. I'm going to be doing it on a Mac, but the process is the same for Windows, and I'll point out a couple differences here and there. You're also going to want to use the included USB cable to plug your detector into your computer. One quick note, you'll see right now I have the display actually running. I've got the detector powered on. You don't need a power cable. I've just got it here for the video because it looks cooler. When you actually have it plugged in with your USB cable, the display will be turned off. That's totally normal. You don't want the detector powered on, and the display is supposed to be turned off, so that is just fine. A lot of people ask about that. And speaking of which, a lot of you guys have had issues with updating the R3 or even updating the R7. And so in this video I want to go over some of the common issues that you guys may see and help you address them. Now, if you watch this video and go through the process and you still have some issues, I'm not actually tech support, I'm more of a reviewer than I am tech support, so if you have any issues, I'm going to have some additional resources down in the video description for maybe hopping onto the forum so you can discuss the update process with other users, and maybe if somebody else has a similar issue to what you've been seeing, they can help you resolve it. So there's going to be a bunch of additional information down in the video description, as always, for you guys. So with that said, let's go ahead and hop on over to Uniden's website, plug the detector into the computer, and start updating it. All right, now starting off, you're going to want to go ahead and go here to Uniden's firmware update website. I'm going to drop this link in the video description to make it super easy to get to. Now, if you scroll down, you're going to see that there are no firmware updates listed here. It confuses a lot of people, and what you need to do is actually go and click on this gray button right here labeled firmware, and it will show you the latest firmware updates. If you scroll down, you're also going to see updates for the R1 and the R3, and for some of the other detectors. Here's DFR6, DFR7, etc. Now, since we're focused on the R7, we've got a number of different links here. Now, this link right here we'll come back to in just a second, but we've got two main links right here. This one is going to be the update software for those of you guys running a Windows computer. If you're running a Mac, you're going to want to go ahead and click this file right here and download this. Now, the Mac software, you'll see it also comes packaged with the drivers, whereas the Windows one does not. If you're running Windows, you're going to want to download the drivers right here. Now, a quick note about the drivers. Drivers are essentially a piece of software that tells your computer how to communicate with the radar detector. A lot of people skip the step of installing the drivers first, and what happens is once they actually get to the update software itself, they plug in their detector, and the update software is like, I can't see the radar detector. And so people may struggle with trying different USB cables and all that kind of stuff, but a lot of times the culprit is just, well, before you actually run the update software, you need to install the drivers first. So if it's your first time installing on a Windows computer, go ahead and click this to download the Windows drivers. Then you can click this right here to download the Windows update software. And then finally, if you're running a Mac, just click this to download both the update software as well as the drivers themselves. Then once you have the files downloaded, just check your downloads folder and you can start extracting. So if you've got the Windows drivers, extract those. If you've got the Windows software, extract those. And if you've got the Mac update software, extract those. Let's go ahead and just peek inside all three real quick just so that you can take a look. So here's a look at the Windows drivers. There's two different installers. There's one for 32-bit systems and there's another one for 64-bit systems. Most newer computers are going to want to do this one. If you have an older computer or you find this doesn't work, just run the 32-bit installer instead. Then once you do that, you can go into the Windows update software itself, and then you've got two different files. One is going to be for the installer. The other one is going to be the firmware update file itself. Now, since we're doing this on a Mac, I'm going to go in here to the Mac version, and we're going to start by installing the drivers. So we'll open this up, and let's do that. Then once this loads, we're going to open up this and go through the update process. This is super standard. Just click agree and yes and go through everything. Once that's done, we can just close that and we can move the driver to the trash. We don't need that anymore. Next, let's go ahead and get into the main event. We've got the update software itself as well as the firmware update, which is a .bin file. Now, here's a quick point about this .bin file, the firmware update file that I've seen trip up a lot of people. This file is not meant to be opened directly. .bin is a generic extension that a lot of different programs use, and so if you try to open the file, whatever program on your computer is associated with .bin files, which is probably not the Uniden update software, it'll try to open it with VLC, like a video player or whatever program is installed, and you're not going to be able to update your detector. This file is not meant to be opened directly. You're going to want to launch the update software and use the update software to open the bin file and transfer that over to your detector. So a little point, but important one, and I've seen a lot of people make this mistake. All right, so let's go ahead and open up the update software. Now, you may run into this issue as well, especially here on a Mac. You'll notice there's some limitations with the security preferences, so we need to go in and actually give the software permission to run. So we're going to hit OK, and we're going to run up here to System Preferences. Then we're going to go over here to Security and Privacy, click this, and you'll notice right here it's actually blocking the file from opening, and so we're just going to go over here and click Open Anyway, and then click on Open, and now it's going to allow us to go ahead and install the update software. And we can go ahead and close this. All right, so next we can go over here to our applications for our computer, and we're going to go down to Uniden, and let's go ahead and open the update software here. Now, once it's connected, we just click Read Version, and it should be able to connect to the detector. There it is, R7, and it tells us what version is currently loaded, and in this case, it's 1.21. Now, to load in the current firmware version, we're going to go and click Open. Then you're going to want to go to wherever you have the file downloaded. So in my case, I'm going to hit the Downloads button, and I've got it downloaded here into the Mac Update Software folder. And then over here, I've got the R7's update software, so version 1.22. And again, you can just scroll to wherever it happens to be downloaded on your computer. It might be in a different place. Once you select that, hit Open, and it's going to go ahead and load in the new version of the update software, which in this case, again, is 1.22. Now, once you're ready to update, you can go ahead and hit the Start Download option right here, and it's going to go ahead and start updating your detector. Now, in case anything ever goes wrong, something fails, or your detector gets bricked because of a bad update process or a cable gets disconnected or something, you can hit the Recovery Mode button right here, and it will do a full update of not just the new stuff since your current firmware version, but actually everything else getting reloaded from scratch. GPS stuff, voices, everything. So that's just a quick note in case anything ever goes wrong. And once that's completed, it says download complete, and we hit OK. And then we can go ahead and unplug our detector, and we do have a couple other things left. Now, once you've finished updating your detector, you're going to want to go in and actually reset the detector settings back to factory defaults, particularly whenever there's a new firmware update that adds any new options into the menu. Now, in order to do that, you're going to want to take your detector back to your car so you can power it on, unless you have like a home power source like I use here just to make it a little bit easier. You don't need one, of course. I'll link in the video description because people always ask. But basically, take the detector, power it back on, hit the menu button right here, and then we're going to scroll left a couple times, and we're going to go over all the way over to Factory Reset, and then press the menu button.
Factory reset completed.
To go ahead and reset the detector back to factory defaults. Now, this is important. I've noticed a couple people who go and update their detector, but they don't reset it back to factory defaults, and the detector doesn't quite work properly. Sometimes there's some issues. Not always, but sometimes people will see this. Now, it's a little bit annoying because then you have to go back in and reprogram all of your settings again from scratch. So you do need to do that, but that's an important thing to do that Uniden does recommend after you update the firmware of your detector. Now, you're not going to actually also lose your lockouts or your marked memory locations if you're using the buttons here on the side. Those are actually different options. So you'll notice if we go over here, delete all user points and delete all of our mute memory, our lockouts are separate options. So those will remain. It's just resetting all of the settings. So you'll notice like it's talking again and beeping and stuff, which normally I turn off day to day, but all that's just settings for the detector go back to the factory defaults. Then once you go in and program your detector and set it up the way that you want, you're now running the latest software, you're running the latest GPS database, and you've got, well, the newest version, essentially, of the Uniden R7. So hopefully this covers a lot of the main highlights. If there's anything that I forgot to cover in the video that is something else that's important, I'll put that down in the video description as well as in case you guys run into any issues. If you have any questions, I'm going to link you guys to a discussion forum so you can ask your questions there, or also see maybe somebody else has run into the same issue and they can offer some suggestions to help you out. So anyway, there you go. There's a look at how to update the firmware for your Uniden R7. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Factory reset. And I always press the wrong button.